Hello everyone, I'm Elsa Iggiotti, I'm a clinical psychologist, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that's very important to me. Why people who think they're bad people are actually hurt. Some people think that they are bad people. It can be a conscious belief sometimes, but most of the time it's something hidden, buried deep inside ourselves. They feel that there is something dark inside of them, something that's not completely right, so they identify with that darkness, and it can make them act in a certain bad way around others or even with themselves. The thing is, there is indeed something dark. But it's not us, it's not you. That is a pain that has been inflicted to you in the past. Sometimes a lot of pain actually. It can be the pain from not having been heard, respected, protected. Hurtful words, even hurtful acts. That would come from the people that we loved the most and that actually stayed within us. They've been here for such a long time that most of the time we don't even remember being hurt in the first place, but they're still here. A child is a very innocent and loving being. They are absolutely good and pure, but they also are very vulnerable. If a child is hurt, he or she is going to learn how to protect themselves. If that child is told that they are bad or they act in a bad way, or they're worthless and not worthy to be loved, well, they're going to end up believing that. Deep down, we are all this pure and innocent child. We have been hurt, and we think that we are the hurt. Every time a child is hurt, they keep in themselves the emotion that is felt. If someone throws anger at a child or disrespects him or her, they're going to keep the anger inside. If someone humiliates them, the shame will be trapped inside them. If they can't express their sadness, the sadness is going to stay within. So the process goes something like this. You have all these bad emotions accumulating somehow in your body, and all of those emotions, they feel bad. It's really difficult. It feels bad to be you, to be in your body, and after some time you start believing that this feeling bad is actually you, that you yourself are bad. But you're not. You feel bad because you've been hurt. After some time, this child and then this adult is going to have all these emotions that are accumulating inside them, turning into aggressivity towards others or towards themselves. The belief here is something like, if I'm such a bad person, why should I act well towards others? If I'm such a bad person, why should I protect my own body or even my own dignity? And if I'm such a bad person, why in the world should I allow myself to be happy? People can then put themselves in dangerous situations because they think they don't deserve better and they feel guilty and they try to punish themselves. People can even be aggressive physically or verbally against others to confirm the belief that they do not deserve to be loved. People act as if they were bad. Maybe you think that this topic doesn't really concern you and, well, I think I'm a good person, I'm okay. Well, here's an interesting question. If you thought deeply that you're completely and intrinsically a good person, would something change in your life? Would you allow yourself different things? Would you do anything differently? This is a very interesting question to ask if you want to see if this belief is in you and how much it affects your life. If you realize that you indeed have this belief, whether it is just a little or an awful lot, well, it can be really interesting to work on this, because it's one of the main keys to achieve freedom and responsibility, as well as happiness. It is, of course, a very long process, but I can help you start with it. So a good first step would be to look at your past and try and understand, where does the pain come from? Where do the hurtful emotions come from in what you've been going through? Maybe your parents said that you were a bad kid. Were they indifferent? Were they violent? Were they kind of manipulative? Maybe you've been considered a bad pupil and the word kind of stuck with you. Maybe you've been bullied at school. Everything that comes to your mind, you can write it down or simply think about it. Or you can even talk about it with a friend that you trust and that you know won't judge you. Some things are going to come to your mind right away, but for some others, well, it does take some time, sometimes years, sometimes just weeks, you don't know. And in this kind of situations, it's not a good idea to force. The things that you might have forgotten are going to come back to you whenever you're ready, because, well, that's how your unconscious mind works, and you gotta trust it. If you've been through kind of intense things through your life, a lot of suffering, it can be a really good idea to actually talk to a therapist that you have a good relationship with, because they're going to help you integrate these things that you've been going through in a way that will be probably much more appropriate for you. The important thing is to really focus on the emotion that you have been going through. It's not really useful at this stage to try to excuse or justify the thing that other people have done to you. For example, it's not really useful to say something like, yes, my mother was very distant, but she had to work a lot, she was under a lot of pressure, she did the best she could. Yes, your mother probably did the best she could. Lots of parents do the best they can, but, well, sometimes we can use this kind of things to kind of look away from the emotion. It's really easier to go like, yes, my mom did this because this or because that, they had, the best intention in the world, rather than actually going through remembering the emotion that can be really painful. It's really easier than saying something like, yes, my mom was very distant and I was feeling so sad all the time and so lonely and so unworthy of love. It's really important to accept the reality of your feelings and also to go back to what was real at this point, because it can really help you set yourself free from guilt. For example, it's not because your father said that you were a worthless kid that it was true. You can actually see that now that you're an adult and go like, okay, my dad said this, but it's not true. He was wrong, and okay, maybe he had like reasons to say that, blah blah blah, I don't care, but he was wrong. I'm not worthless. I'm actually worth a lot. Or you can say something like, okay, I didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve to be disrespected. I didn't deserve to be bullied. I didn't deserve any of the bad things that came my way. Bad things happen, but I didn't deserve them. I deserve the best. Once that you have looked at your past and faced your emotions, well, it's time to face the consequences of all that you've done from the belief that you are a bad person. It's time for some responsibility. What is important to understand is, even if you're absolutely not guilty of all the things that happened to you in your past, even if you did nothing at all to deserve those bad things. You are responsible for everything you've done afterwards, according to the belief that you were a bad person. When did I say hurtful things and then didn't apologize? When did I manipulate people in order to get what I wanted? All these attitudes are rooted in the belief that we're bad people and therefore it's absolutely normal to do bad things. It can be really difficult to face reality and the bad things we may have done to others or to ourselves, but taking responsibility for these things is the only way to make sure they don't happen anymore. Otherwise you're always like justifying yourself and going like, okay, I did this because of blah 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 blah, and you just put things away, and when you put things away they come back through your actions. One note for people who have the tendency to think that they always do wrong things and who put themselves into question really easily. If you're one of those people, chances are that you didn't do that many bad things to others, but mostly to yourself, because you think you don't deserve better. And you probably put yourself into very dangerous situations in which you got hurt, maybe physically, maybe emotionally or mentally. For every one of you at this stage, you can really begin to understand that the things you have done in your past, you've done because you were hurt, because you thought you were a bad person, and therefore you're not a bad person, and you can learn how to forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean justifying or finding excuses for yourself and for the things you may have done in your past. It's more like stop hating yourself, stop being angry at yourself, and because hating yourself is not going to lead anywhere good. It's just going to create more violence, more anger, and more hurtful things for yourself and for others. So forgiving yourself is, yes, I take responsibility for the things I've done. I choose consciously not to do that again. But I stop hating myself. An important step in this process, if you've actually hurt people and you suddenly realize that, or you've known for a long time, it can happen too, is to actually apologize to them. And that does include yourself. Because if you do have hurt yourself in the past, well, it's important to acknowledge that and to forgive yourself for that. Maybe for some of you, it's still very difficult to believe that you actually are a good person. You can't believe that. You're like, oh, I'm not a good person. What are you even telling me? Look at what I've done. Look at, I'm not a good person. Well, if you really think that, try to picture a child or even a baby and ask yourself, honestly, can this baby, can this child be intrinsically bad as a person? And just apply this to yourself. Yourself as a baby, as a child, were you really bad? Or just, do you think that bad things happened to you that made you into someone angry, that made you into someone aggressive, or so on, so on, so on? Or maybe that intellectually you're like, yes, I'm a good person, that's alright, I can believe that, but deep down, on an emotional level, on a physical level, you can't really shake the belief that, no, I'm bad, come on. And if this is the case, well, I think you can really be helped by positive affirmations or visualizations, because these are going to help you really anchor and integrate this positive belief into your subconscious mind. You can use sentences like simply, I'm a good person, or something like I'm deeply and profoundly good and pure and I deserve to be loved. You can also visualize that there is an immaculate core inside you that can never be touched by anything bad, and that's the core of your being. It can really be helpful to know that there is a part of you that is forever pure. You can also visualize that there is a golden or white bright light at the level of your heart, and you can close your eyes and imagine that beautiful light just growing and growing and growing through your whole body and just making you feel absolutely wonderful. This heart visualization can really help you anchor physically the belief that you're light, you're good, and that's who you are. Alright, this is the end of this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. It's always nice to see that. And I also happen to have the same channel in French called Naître à soi-même, because I actually am French, and if you have friends who speak French, please recommend that channel to them. Bye, see you next time.